It's the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kurt Collection. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Well, hey there. I was like, did you hear that sound? I was just adjusting my microphone and it squeaked. Did you hear that?
I did hear
Everybody heard the squeak?
A little bit of a beep, yes.
I gotta get a little, what's that stuff called? WD-40?
Yes.
Fixes everything. Fixes everything.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. I'm already starting us off the rails. Hi, Clay. How are you today?
I'm doing well. It is Wednesday, folks. 4:30 Eastern time. We are in the middle of a government shutdown, among many, many other things that we got going. I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's another one of those weeks where I'm a little discombobulated and I don't really have a good reason why. I just simply am. I don't know. I put too many things on my plate. I wanted to do two. You ever do this, Clay? You have like 5 million things you want to do, but you want them all done like 5 minutes ago. Like that's a day in my life every day. I always do that.
Yeah, I with the release of the second book, I've been like reinvigorating like podcast appearances and other things, and it's like, you know, I've been stacking stuff on top of each other with very few breaks. And then all of a sudden I look down and my day is completely consumed. So yes, I completely understand what you're talking about.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just wild. It's wild. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a complaint, just an acknowledgement, right? Like busy is good, productive is good, but it's the same thing. It gets to the end of the day and you're like, especially when if you're doing desk work, like that to me is always a crazy thing. Like you feel like
if you're so busy, you forget to eat. And then all of a sudden it's like 5 o'clock and you're like, I'm starving. Yes.
Yeah. I am actually at that point right now. So if you hear my stomach grumble, guys, we're all going to pretend you didn't hear it. Okay. Just pretend with me that you didn't hear it. Yeah. This was one of those. It's so funny that you said that. As soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Okay. Listen, guys, we've got the usual. We've got quite a few topics for you. Starting right. Well, I mean, we should start right off the bat with the shutdown. So how about that? At 12:01 a.m., the federal government went into shutdown thanks to a Senate blockade of the GOP's clean funding bill. They're calling this the Schumer shutdown, right? It's the Schumer shutdown. We've got a funny graphic too.
Yes. So for those that don't know or aren't tracking, the federal government operates their fiscal years, the 1st of October to the 30th of September. It's not, most businesses operate on a 1 January to 31 December, but the federal government is not. So the government shut down as of midnight last night, because today is October 1st, obviously. And the reason is what the Republicans with the GOP asked for is just they wanted to stay, literally no change in spending, no increases or decreases, steady state until middle of November so they could actually discuss real budgetary issues, which I think all of America would agree should have been resolved by now. But they asked for another, I think it's 7 weeks with no change is what they asked for.
Right.
And the Democrats absolutely -3. There are 3 that jumped over and agreed that, let's take the 7 weeks, and they voted with the GOP, but it wasn't enough votes. And so, we're in a shutdown because the Democrats are holding it hostage.
Yeah, I mean that's it in a nutshell, right? That's what they're doing, and of course they're blaming the GOP, and it's them, and it's crazy. And what else is new? The American people are the ones that are made to suffer for their nonsense, really. And I've seen a lot of posts, a lot of different things. One of them being, I just saw it like 5 minutes before, somebody said, this is probably one of those cases where you shut down and nobody's even going to notice because you weren't even doing your job in the first place. So, and I don't know how true, how accurate that is, but it does give you a moment to pause. So what the heck's going to happen next? What do you think is
your point about the Schumer shutdown is interesting, because what everybody is saying is that Schumer has orchestrated this because he wants to appear to be a hardliner for once, because he is scared to death that he is going to be replaced by AOC. And this would be the turning point.
Right.
He was quote unquote soft and worked with the Republicans and worked with the whip and, got the votes that were needed to extend, then he would be seen as weak. And he doesn't want, because he is afraid he's going to be replaced by AOC, which is why they're calling this the Schumer shutdown.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. There are Republicans right now that are introducing measures where Congress doesn't get paid until this passes, which I think we can all agree on. Listen, if the lowest enlisted person in any of the armed services is not getting paid right now, then Congress should not be getting paid right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There are the people that are saying, well, the Republicans own the White House, they own the House, they own the Senate. This shutdown is on them. Well, the reality is it's not, because they have to have 60 votes move through. They don't have, while they do have control of that, of the Congress in both houses, they don't have enough of an advantage to just override, which is where they're trying to get right now. So I think this goes the way of many of these shutdowns. I think the last one, it's been a while, maybe 10 years, pretty close, maybe a little longer. But I think this goes the way that most of them go. I think that within the next probably, what's today? Today's Wednesday. I would bet by Friday, a resolution, this green, what did you call it? It's the green or the continuing, it's a continuing resolution is basically what.
Right. Yeah.
I think that'll get passed. I think by Friday, there'll be enough Democrats that will have succumbed to the pressure. They will have flipped, and there'll be enough for this to pass, and it'll get them through the 7 weeks into November. And then they'll discuss all this stuff, and we'll probably go through another continuing resolution in November.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my goodness. And again, it's important to note that, this is another case of Democrats not listening to the American people. I think the number was something like 60, and I could be even lowballing, but 65% of Americans did not want a government shutdown. It's kind of a given, that would be the case. So I'm sure the number is even higher than that. But yeah, again, another case of them not listening to the people that they serve. And that is what we are so sick and tired of. We're just done with it. And this is, just another great example of why we said, no, don't do it. They said, we're going to do it anyway, because we want to stomp our feet and just stick it to Trump and stick it to the Republicans. And here's where we are. They're not going to win this.
And what people don't realize is that the 7 week stay was nothing. There was literally no change. So all of the funding for all things that the Democrats have right now that they want, that are already being paid for, would not have changed for the next 7 weeks. It would have allowed for another 7 weeks of deals and negotiations. What they've turned around and asked for is $1.5 trillion in healthcare specifically for illegal aliens. Right.
Right.
So, and Americans who right now don't have healthcare are being told, or can't afford healthcare, are being told that their taxes are going to be used to provide healthcare for people who aren't Americans. Right. It's a process through that. But everything you said, the 65% of the people that didn't want this shutdown, think about everybody who is on any kind of government, subsidy. So whether you're on welfare, whether you're on whatever, like any government program that is funding you is right now at risk. So of course, 65% of the people don't want this to happen. I'm surprised it's that low, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's I feel the same way. That was the number that I saw, and even when I read it, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. I feel like that number's a lot higher than that. So,
well, there's 35% of the people, truthfully, that probably don't care. Like, it has no effect on their life, so they really don't. It doesn't bother them. But regardless, our government should never be shut down like this. I know Congress, even just a few minutes ago, there was an attempt by the GOP to do another vote to get the 60 to move it along. It fell short again. So, but I think by Friday, again, I think this will be resolved. It may even be by the time this show airs tomorrow night, but I think definitely by Friday, I think this will be resolved. I hope, but that's my anticipation.
And I just simply hope that it serves as yet another nail in the coffin for the Democrats, for this party, and the way that they're doing this. This is insane. Because again, not to be a broken record, you're hurting the American people, or you're indifferent to the potential of hurting American people by doing this, to give aid to illegal aliens. And this is literally the only thing that they seem to care about ever. So, yeah.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I think they're only doing this because this is not a major election year. There are only a very few elections, and we're going to talk about one of them, and it's a local election, the New York City mayoral election, but there are only a few elections this year, and they're gubernatorial. There's not a lot of congressional seats at risk. Actually, I don't know if there's any at all, but this is not a major election year. There's no way that they would be doing this to be the bad guy, to be the one bearing the brunt of this through an actual election. So it would have been resolved today. Probably it certainly would have been resolved before election day, but I think, give it till Friday and this will fix itself. But in the meantime, we've got the Department of War spending millions of dollars to bring every general and every senior enlisted person to Quantico for the day.
Yes, I'm going to take a wild guess. I think you have some big feelings on this.
Yeah,
I was, when you threw this into our mix for our topics, I literally did one of these. I went, ooh, because I knew, I'm like, oh, Clay's going to be fired up. Like, and I was genuinely interested on your take on all of this. And I knew you would watch the whole thing and making it so that I didn't have to. So bad. But yes. So like Clay said, the defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, Clay's favorite guy in the whole wide world. You don't hate him. You just don't love him. Yes. I know that you don't. And I want to clarify that for people. He doesn't hate him. He doesn't just, you can be critical of people. It's okay, guys. You don't have to go bonkers, right? I mean, you really should be. It's, we don't have to like just follow the leaders like little minions.
And I will tell you that, and I'll talk about exactly what the secretary said, but that right there, what you said is about, people not questioning has been rampant in the last 24 hours. I've taken a bit of a beating across social media. Again, Secretary Hegseth, I have said from the beginning, I am not a fan of his. I do want him and the department to be successful. That is my number one hope of all hopes. But I don't think he's the guy to get us there. What has happened, especially in the last 24 hours, is if you disagree with anything that he said at all, you're being lambasted as non-supportive, as you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it is an absolute attack. It's one of those that the GOP, the Republican conservative side, has turned into the liberal side when it comes to this. It is 100% support or you're a traitor, and there's no in between. So I've taken a bit of a beating, but to go back to the secretary. So he got I think it was about a 97% attendance rate. There were a few exceptions made, but every general officer / flag officer, GOFO as we call them, because admirals are not generals, they're flag officers. But GOFO, if you've seen that, GOFO, all of them and their senior enlisted advisors accompanied, and they all went to Quantico, and they put them all in a room together. And first, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs stood up and he alleviated some worries that there was going to be a physical fitness test following the briefing, which there was not. It was actually very funny.
That is funny.
And then the secretary got out there. And there are a number of things that he talked about. And there are a lot of things that he talked about that I support, I'm a fan of. I have even wrote in support of or talked in support of on this show. And some of the things he hit on, and I took some notes. So physical fitness is a big deal. We all lived through the fat General Milley as the representative, as not only the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but the chief of staff of the Army before that, who was obese. I mean, he was grossly overweight. And Secretary Hegseth said flat out, no more fat generals. Okay, well, it's not, and he did, extend that to the rest of the services. But he said it's a bad look. And I don't disagree with that. Now, people took that beyond and said, well, because he said everyone is going to have to pass. Every service has a height and weight standard. If you're so tall, you can only weigh so much, male or female. You also have to take a physical fitness test twice a year. That has never not been the standard. It just hasn't been enforced, especially in the senior ranks. It's one of those things that it just hasn't happened. And it's not new news. It's always been on the books. It just hasn't been enforced. But he says it's being enforced, which I'm all for. He also said grooming standards, which we have talked about, right? Shave every day. And he said it. We're getting rid of the beards. We're getting rid of the crazy hairstyles. We're getting rid of all that stuff. I'm a huge supporter of that. I've said it many times. He's getting rid of all the DEI crap. He's getting rid of all of the, Hispanic Heritage Month, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Black, African American Heritage. All those things are going away. Everything is going to be on merit. That is what he's saying. People will be selected, promoted, judged on merit, not on color of their skin, religion, blah, blah, blah. He's getting rid of all the LGBTQ crap. He said it specifically, no dudes in dresses. So that he said those words specifically. So that is all coming off the table. He is reinstilling a warrior ethos, focusing on training, spending time on the range, weapon proficiency, all of these things. I'm a fan of all of that.
Right. I feel like all of these things are so matter of course.
They should be, but they have fallen off. Now, some of that is the warrior ethos, the training, there's money that has to be associated with that, right? It costs money to train. Bullets cost money, those kinds of things. So that's an allocation of resources that really is an adjustment, but also they've taken things off the training calendar, required training, like we used to call it sensitivity training, consideration of, it's had a bunch of names over the years, consideration of others training and all these other things, right? He's taking a bunch of that crap off the table. We're not doing it anymore, which I'm all for. There was actually a point in time where folks in the Army looked at all of the required training and all of the manuals, and literally you couldn't do it in a year. It was impossible. There was actually more required training than there was hours in a year.
Oh man.
So they're clearing a bunch of that up, which is great. But really what he was focusing on was accountability, right? Again, I'm all for that stuff. Here are some of the problems in what he said. He mentioned things like, we're not going to follow these stupid rules of engagement anymore. Okay. Just to explain to the general public, those rules of engagement are derived from legal documents like the Geneva Convention, the law of land warfare, right? And I understand that his view comes from his experience, which I've said in the past is not great. He was a lieutenant and a captain, and his experience truthfully in combat is very, very low. And he has I think a misapplied view of how things are supposed to be. When you don't adhere to Americans following what is legally, morally, and ethically correct, and you let people act like animals, they become animals. There's a lot of reasons to have those rules of engagement and those limitations on combat. What we can't have is people committing war crimes. And when you say things like, we're not going to follow these stupid rules of engagement, you start to, you're introducing gray areas into places where there shouldn't be gray areas. He also talked about basic training should be a scary, difficult, challenging experience, which I agree with. Basic training or boot camp for every service should be that way. But he did mention that now drill sergeants would be able to swear. Believe it or not, they weren't supposed to. That was on the books as a regulation.
Okay.
But he also said they would be able to lay hands on trainees, which is I'm not in favor of. And in fact, anybody who's worked in that environment would tell you the same thing. As much as people think Full Metal Jacket is reality, it is not and hasn't been for decades. In an all volunteer Army, and if you've got kids, I've got kids, do you want your kid going to basic training and being potentially physically abused? Because that's what this has the potential to turn into if it's not governed. So I'm not a fan of that. He referenced the Army of 1990, right? This is the gold standard, which was the Desert Storm Army.
Right.
Let me give you a little perspective, folks. Pete Hegseth was 10 in 1990. He was 10 years old. He doesn't know what the Desert Storm Army looked like.
Right. That was my husband's war. Yeah.
Right.
When he was
I was still in high school in 1990, right? I graduated in 91. He was 10 years old. He did not join the military until after 9/11, which was a very, very different Army. So he has this romanticized vision of what the Army looks like, or the military of 1990 was like. I would tell you that Lieutenant Hegseth, if you took him as a lieutenant and you placed him in the Army of 1990 with the training that he had and didn't have, he would have been ridiculed. He would have been hazed. He would have been told he was a worthless piece of shit for a couple of reasons, because he didn't meet a lot of the gates that were expected back then. He is an infantry lieutenant. He did not go to airborne school and learn how to jump out of planes. He did not go to Ranger school, which was the mark of success for a young infantry officer. And he was a National Guardsman. The opportunities that he was given during the War on Terror, he would never have been given in the Army of 1990. He would have been shoved in a corner and told to shut up until he was talked to. So he's got a false sense of what that Army looked like and how good it was and was not. Now, as a fighting force, it was fantastic. I'm not going to take anything away. We rolled through the fifth largest army in the world in 100 hours, right? There was no joking around. However, he kept hitting on the PT thing, physical fitness, right? Physical fitness is important, which it is.
Right.
No doubt about it. And he is a PT guy. We've all seen it. He goes out, he does physical fitness training with the troops, and he's good at it. So therefore, it's important to him. However, I would tell you, in that Army of 1990 and even into the middle and late 90s, we had a lot of people who could run really fast and do a lot of PT who really, really sucked at their job, but they were really good at PT and they were promoted and advanced because on the surface, they're physically fit and they could do all of those things. We had a very skewed Army when it came to those things. And he is reintroducing some of that knowingly or unknowingly, where he is saying, physical fitness is the priority as it should be. However, that weighs more than your competency at your job. Right. I would tell you that Secretary of Defense, now Secretary of War, but Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, when he took over on day one in the Pentagon, if they gave him a competency test about his job, not a physical fitness test, but a competency test about how the Pentagon worked, how the services worked, how any of that worked, he would have failed miserably. He would have been fired on the very first day. So I think his prioritization of quality of work is a little askew, especially when it comes to the senior ranks. He also talked about there will be no more frivolous complaints across the force. And what he was talking about was to the inspector general and to others. He is not the person to determine what a frivolous complaint is.
Right.
What he did was he introduced a lot of doubt into a lot of people's heads about what they can and can't or should or shouldn't complain about. Hazing, sexual harassment, all kinds of things get filed into the inspector general, among others, and those should not be discouraged. Should they be vetted? Absolutely.
Sure.
Should the frivolous ones be determined and thrown away? Yes. But what you can't say up front is, we're not going to have any more frivolous ones. Nobody knows what that is, including him.
Right.
And then the last two things. One, he basically told everybody in the room, listen, if you don't agree with the words that I'm saying, you should go ahead and resign right now. He told the entire population of general officers and flag officers and their senior enlisted advisors, if you don't agree with me, get out. That's what you should do. The military is there, the uniformed military is there for him and for the president to provide advice because they have no expertise. Him specifically, President Trump at least has 4 years under his belt as the president, but he has no expertise. And to say either you agree with me or you quit is very, very immature in who he is. So I'm not a fan of that. And then the last thing is the idea that this was live streamed to the entirety of the world with no opportunity for discussion, no opportunity for all of those commanders in that room to take in what he said, to ask questions, to ask for clarity, to even provide a buffer between things that he may have said or misspoke before they get to the force. He took all of that out. And in front of the entirety of the military force who was watching that live stream, he basically told all the leadership in that room, you have either been lazy or complicit to allow the military to get to the state that it's in. So he basically cut every single commander and senior enlisted legs out from underneath them publicly.
But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Do you think, so here's just me playing devil's advocate, do you think that was shooting right from the hip? Do you think that was him? Okay, so was that
was a written, because he was walking around the stage, so there was no teleprompters, unless there was something in the back that we couldn't see. But I think that was a memorized, rehearsed, very deliberate speech by him addressed to those people in the room. But also it was a Kodak moment. It was a photo opportunity. It was all of those things that Secretary Hegseth is known for. We all know he's got his makeup studio, right there next to his office. But yes, none of this was an accident. This was all on purpose, and I think truthfully ill-advised.
There was definitely a lot of parts that I love about it. The ones that same exact ones that you loved. Really, I can't wait to see the comments section, Clay.
Listen, folks, I do. There are a lot of things that I agree with. Really, I do, and I want him to be successful. But again, he keeps, like he mentioned when I was a platoon leader, the motto, and he was talking about his lack of experience as if it was a bedrock for great decision making, and I could go into a long discussion about, if you look at what he did in his career and you actually know what you're looking at and reading between the lines, that he was not treated well. And truthfully, his level of experience is terrible. It's less than even he portrays it to be, because on the surface, people don't know the difference. But those of us that can look at it with the Rosetta Stone in hand and we know what we're looking at, we know that, he deployed, Iraq and Afghanistan, but the jobs he was given were less than great, truthfully.
And I think the issue that comes in with these, irate commenters and everything, we get very, and I'm guilty of it too, on many occasions, of getting, that Merca, you guys fire us up, put me in, coach, you get that mentality, and it is from a place of great love of country and patriotism and all of those things. And I think people get a little bit lost in their their fire to be patriotic and to be good, solid Americans and support someone who's giving that same energy that we've been craving so badly from from our leadership, particularly somebody who's Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War. That is absolutely the guy you want to hear, ready to go in, guns blazing, fired up, and in hardcore defense of America and American values and protection of this country. All of those things are really the given here of what the sentiment is. But and you said it before, kind of get that liberal vibe coming in where you're coming over and attacking someone who simply has a different perspective. But we're all on the same team here. And that is one of the things that really deeply disappoints me as a conservative, as a Republican, as a human being, simply that, listen, we are actually all on the same side here. We all have the same core belief system, which is America first. We love this country deeply. And I mean, that's that, and then we could certainly go into the whole God, country, family, all of those things. Those are huge factors in the conservative movement. So we have a very connected core. So when you come at someone who is on the same damn side as you and basically try and rip them to shreds, and I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, somebody sent me a message and saying that they hope that I get a bullet between the eyes or something like that. So that was really sweet, and it was because they misunderstood a video that I made. I was actually it was satire, it was mocking the leftist media by imitating them, and they took it as for real, as if I was really saying that, and that was the message that I got. There were some people that suggested that was really a liberal in disguise, pretending to be, listen, I'm not going to give anybody that much credit to have given it that much thought. Not in that circumstance. I really believe that was somebody on the right who was way, way over the top. And if you, as a conservative, as a Republican, are sending messages to your fellow conservatives, actually to anyone, if you are sending, never mind even, then let me backtrack that a little. If you, as a conservative, however you want to label yourself, conservative, Republican, blah, 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 Christian, if you're on this side of things, and you are making comments and sending messages to anyone with aggressive, violent hate talk, you don't belong over here. You don't belong in this side, because that is not who we are. That's not what we're about. So that's my feeling on that. You want to come in the comments and disagree with me or with Clay on this topic or any topic, go for it. Please do. I'd love to hear your perspective. It helps me grow as a human being. It gives me a different viewpoint. Absolutely love that. If you come in here like a POS and, ripping somebody to shreds, whether it's me, Clay, or another commenter in there, you're just gone. You're just out. I don't have time for you. I don't have patience for you. You're not welcome here. And frankly, I don't think you should be welcome in the Conservative Party, because you are not representative of who we are and what we're about. We're better than that, damn it. And so act like it. So if you're coming in, better have a good argument, and you better have something worth saying, and you better say it in a way that is respectful and intelligent, and otherwise I'll ban you. I don't even care. I used to be like the one that was like, I would never ban anyone. You can stay even if you say rotten things. Nah, I don't care. I don't care about your feelings. Don't care if your heart's in the right place. Say it wrong, just go. So that's it. That's literally all I have to, that's my soapbox for the moment. Yeah, I mean, as far as Pete's concerned, yeah, I see the things that you are saying, and I don't have the deep understanding that you have, of course. I will say I kind of have to reiterate what I said in a little bit more gentle tone, that, I just wish we could all, and I put myself in this too, I wish we could all take that pause and really think about what we're about to say before we say it. And I'm sure there are things in that speech that he could have said better and differently that would not be so, I don't know, inflammatory where it didn't need to be. There's points where you need to be, right? The DEI, absolutely. What is it? No dudes in dresses, right? No dudes in dresses.
Yeah. All of it. There's, again, tons of stuff I agreed with. Really. But there were certain things where I think he's off base. But it is what it is. We don't need to belabor the point anymore. That was pretty big topic. Yeah. Mostly because it's never happened before.
Right.
That they've never put that many senior leaders in a room together ever. And so that was a big undertaking. Oh, by the way, not lost on any of them or any service member that they did it the day before the government shutdown. Yeah, so there was a loyalty check that basically said, hey, with saying it without saying it, like tomorrow you're working without a paycheck, and I don't expect any complaints from anybody. Otherwise, the door's over there. So there is some of that. Regardless, I think that's we've covered that. Let's move on to the next one.
All right. Well, we can kind of stay kind of in the same vein here a little bit ish. I mean,
this is part of it. So there's actually, folks, understand that as many rumors as are out there, there are no troops in Portland, Chicago, or Louisiana. They have been requested either by the president or by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
In Portland, specifically Oregon, the governor there has already filed a lawsuit to avoid that. What was proposed or requested by the president was 200 members of the Oregon National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, same thing. Nobody there yet. 100 members of the Illinois National Guard. The Louisiana governor has requested that his own National Guard be federalized to help him
Mm-hmm.
with the overwhelmed law enforcement within his state. So, there's different perspectives on this. We've seen the success of what's happening in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I will tell you that there has been a massive influx in Chicago of federal law enforcement. They
Mm-hmm.
actually ran a massive raid, helicopter, like fast roping out of Blackhawks onto the rooftop of an apartment building controlled by Tren de Agua. Like this was ICE. They've got DEA, they got ATF involved now, FBI. But there are hundreds of federal law enforcement agents running around Chicago right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no federal troops. There's no troops at all. So what do you think? We've covered DC. We've talked in concept about Chicago. Yeah. Where do you see, like the governor of Oregon said, he told his staff, this is coming and I want a lawsuit in less than 12 hours
Mm-hmm.
submitted once the request is put in. Where do you think this is going to go?
Yeah, Trump is he's won a lot of these cases. He's certainly lost some of them, but overall he's winning them. And I think the key factor here is, so the left and the media, of course, want you to believe that this is the federalization of, troops against American people, and we can't stand for this. And, big gov is coming in, and they're not coming after Americans. They're coming after violent, illegal aliens who are taking over, buildings and doing and the crime and all of the things that are going on. So American citizens are not being targeted. They are targeting the people who are in this country illegally and who are violent, dangerous criminals who are killing American citizens on trains and parks and in parking lots. And, so it's absurd to me that they would propaganda. I mean, it's wise. Of course, that this is what they're doing. They're propagandizing the whole thing to an extreme, to a version of what it is not. And then you have these people that are believing that this is what's happening, and it's simply not. And listen, if you, governors of these states, if you cannot control and get rid of the rampant crime that is going on in your states, in your cities, you need the government's help. You did this. This is not Trump's fault that you can't manage your city. People have a right, American citizens have a right to live freely and safely in their neighborhoods and in their, towns and in their homes. So yeah, and enough of the nonsense. I am all for it, with the obvious caveat that, it should always be constantly monitored that there isn't overreach or, overzealousness. Do everything within the constraints of what you're legally allowed to do, period. End of story. That's the way I see it. How about you?
Yeah, I think, it's always the same problem of, like, when does it end?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how long do these folks stay? That is always a concern. I think there should always be it should never be time-based, because you never know if you're going to meet that time. Right. I think it should be condition-based, where you say we've reduced crime by X amount, or we've brought on X amount of police officers back onto the force, et cetera. But I would tell you that the biggest problem is that it's not that they can't, mm-hmm. these mayors can't, or governors can't reduce crime. They don't want to.
Right.
Like,
that's it. Right on the nose. That's it.
They really don't want to. And
mm-hmm.
and we're going to talk about New York City here in a minute. But, Johnson in Chicago, I don't even know the mayor of Portland's name, but like that, they want to release people on their own recognizance. They don't want bail. They want the jails emptied. They don't, they want all of these people out on the street. They want social workers to handle these things. They want to defund the police. They want these situations, and
absolutely,
it's a difference of mindset and methodology, where, like you said, Americans have a right to be safe,
mm-hmm.
and they believe that the Americans that they're trying to take care of are the ones who are committing all the crimes. They're not taking into consideration everybody else who's a victim of a crime. Whereas President Trump and, like, the governor of Louisiana is like, I need some help. Like I want to provide safety and security for the residents of the state of Louisiana, and my law enforcement's overwhelmed. We can't do it. I need some assistance, right?
Right.
And that's what President Trump is trying to impose into Illinois/Chicago, Oregon/Portland to provide that safety and security for the citizenry. But you've got governors and mayors who are fighting against it because it's a different ideological, method to do this. And I don't think we'll ever, until they're voted out, you'll never overcome that.
No, you won't. I mean, we've got decades of this, as proof, and they still keep getting in.
Chicago hasn't had a Republican mayor in over 100 years. Not
so
one. Right?
I don't get it, Clay. I just don't. I don't understand for the life of me, and it's so frustrating. Every part of it is so frustrating, and it's just so sad for these people who are essentially trapped in this. That they just have to deal with it and pray every day that they get to see tomorrow, because the people running their cities and their states refuse to help them. They'd rather help these criminals and delinquents. So don't forget, we have, the Jasmine Crockett's of the world who say this is their mentality summed up in a Jasmine Crockett quote, which goes something like, we got to stop calling people who commit crimes criminals. They're not criminals.
I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different.
Like, criminal's a mindset, is what she said. Yeah.
Oh, and this is what we're up against. Like, this is what we're dealing with. And
so let's talk about New York. So New York is now it's a three-legged race.
Yep.
Mayor Adams is out. He has said he is no longer running. So now we are Mamdani, Cuomo, and there's more, folks. There's a couple of very small candidates with like a 0.001% chance of getting elected. And then Mr. Sliwa, who doesn't have a whole lot of chance of getting elected. Who's the guy who runs around with the Guardian Angels with the red beret on his head. So really what we're talking about is Cuomo and Mamdani. And I can't believe the city of New York has these as their two options, and the best option is Cuomo. Like, that's where we're at right now.
We're just living in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Like, that is, and we're like, that there is a day that I'm sitting here going, oh, please let it be Cuomo. Let it be him. Like,
right.
how are those words coming out of my mouth? Well, that's because we have this guy, Mamdani, and I cannot believe it. And he is leading by quite a bit. I mean, his margin is
he beat
terrifying.
Cuomo in the Democratic primary.
Yeah.
Cuomo's now running as an independent.
Yeah.
And what everybody's hoping is that as everybody else bows out, they're consolidating votes for Cuomo. And this, if there is an election where it is not vote for, but vote against,
right.
This is definitely that election.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if this happens, if Mamdani, if he's in, you kiss New York City goodbye. I mean, and it's pretty close to it already, but you kiss it goodbye because it's gone. It's gone, completely gone. And there is absolutely no question of that. That is a fact. And I, to be honest with you, Clay, I think it's going to happen. I think it's actually going to happen.
I think it is. And I think, it is going to be a matter of 2 years probably before the city collapses on itself. And it will take 10 times that long for it to recover, because it's not just going to be people that leave. People are going to leave.
People leave.
Businesses are
corporations,
going to leave.
Businesses. Absolutely.
You will
have no choice.
And folks, you will see cultural impacts that you're not even thinking about right now. Broadway will close down because of the levels of crime. Because they will target that entire theater district. You won't be able to walk in or walk out without getting mugged. You will see sports teams will pick up and leave out of the city, right? You will not have events right inside of the city of New York. Central Park will become a ghost town. And I know people they think I'm overreacting to this, but he has said out loud a couple of things. Mamdani has. He has said that he wants to empty the prisons out, that prisons are an archaic institution and they're irrelevant, and he doesn't want anybody to go to jail at all, period.
Right.
He is a fan of disband the police. He is a fan of public property becoming public. So you will not be able to own anything property wise in the city of New York that he wants to get rid of. This is this isn't even socialism, folks. This is communism with a sprinkling of the Muslim religion, because he's also endorsed the Intifada, global Intifada. And if you don't know what that is authorization and encouragement to kill Jews anywhere on the planet. This is the second largest Jewish populated urban area in the world, behind Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, one or the other. But it's number 2 in the world. So New York is going to kill itself. It is going to collapse. It's going to be a black hole, and it is going to take 20 years to recover from the mess that this guy is about to unleash.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have any plans to go, better go now. Enjoy the last of it now. Take lots of pictures, because it ain't gonna look like that in a couple years. But I think this is, unless some miracle happens. Do we know? Adams has not given a public reason for dropping out. I mean, I'm assuming it's just numbers. It's just a matter of numbers. I think it's a combination of numbers, but also that attempt to consolidate votes. I think that somebody probably, there was probably I hate to say it, but a backdoor phone call probably between him and some others, and they all agreed that Cuomo's probably got the best shot of beating him, and he probably agreed to walk away. Right. So his endorsement will be imminent, I'm guessing. That's the key, is the endorsement. My assumption is that he will make a public endorsement, and it will be Cuomo as he leaves. Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, so crazy to be saying this, but they all better get behind him fast. And there were some big billionaire, I don't really know, talking about putting money in the race here to help as well. So if that has happened, I don't know. I hope it does. But oh my gosh! But people, the other thing to watch is who does and does not endorse him at the national level from the Democratic Party. And I'm talking both of them, Cuomo and Mamdani. Anybody that endorses Mamdani, he becomes the new gold standard for the Democratic Party. If he is endorsed by anybody, and I'm talking anybody, AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, anybody, Hakeem Jeffries, anybody from the squad, they are endorsing an anti-Semitic Muslim communist to be the mayor of the largest major metro area in our country. Yeah. So that is a problem. Yeah, that he's not hiding any of this. No. And he is this far ahead says a whole heck of a lot, and it doesn't say anything good. So obviously we're going to keep watching that. That's disturbing beyond words and terrifying. We will see what happens. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I got to say, I have not been to the city in many, many years, and largely because of, how insane it has gotten. I have no interest in going. Having said that, I used to love going to the city. It was just, we would only go like 4 times a year. And that sounds weird, but we go seasonally. Each season we would go for a seasonal visit, do all the stuff and things. And, I miss feeling comfortable and safe doing that. And, sad. Let's see. Who do you want to do next? Oh, let's do this one. This is a fun one, right? Since our show is on the YouTube. 24.5 million? Billion. Yeah, million. $24.5 million settlement with Trump after his 2021 suspension lawsuit. No admission of wrongdoing. 22 million goes to the trust for the National Mall. The rest will go to conservative. Oops, I just lost my notes there. Conservative. Just literally shut it right down. Good job. Conservative causes. This is the last of big tech's major platforms to settle. So if you guys don't know, let's see. So each one, to some degree or other, has admitted, how many years later, to all of the things that we have been saying that they did for years now. And everyone, including them, especially them, have been denying and calling us crazy little tinfoil hat wearing conspiracists. And you were never censored. You were never, none of the things that you say happened. And now they're like, oh yeah, no, that totally happened. Yeah, totally did that. Yeah. You got Zuckerberg flat out said, yep, the Biden administration pressured us to suppress certain things and all of that. And you had X, or formerly when it was Twitter, what was his name? Jack, whatever his name is, the former owner or CEO of Twitter said, yep, we did those things. Yep, that was us. Who else? YouTube, of course, and Google. Google was the other one. So they are all, finally coming clean and saying, yeah, oops, all the things, by the way, all the things that you guys said we did and we denied, we totally did it. So, yeah. Yeah. And as indicative of President Trump and what he does, he's not taking any of that money. Right.
He could
Right.
easily $24 million, $24.5 million,
Yeah.
pocket that, right?
Yep.
Is it owed to him? Sure it is. Right?
Heck yeah.
I mean, think about
yeah.
what he lost.
Yeah.
But he's not. It's all being given, donated, et cetera. And folks, this is, like you said, Elsa, it is, it's justification, it's confirmation of everything that was suspected, that we all knew, that, the other side, kept saying, oh, no. Oh, you guys are all crazy. It's not. We're not.
Crazy.
Nobody's crazy.
No.
It actually happened. It's all the things. It's Hunter Biden's laptop. It's all the everything that we knew that they deny is all being confirmed, and it's all being done in court. And folks, I will tell you, you can pretend, oh, they settled. Oh, they, that's not an admission of guilt. They just didn't want you can say whatever you want. You'll never convince me. They did it. Now they've settled out of court. So it is not, legally, an issue, but they did it.
Yep. They did it. That's an admission, as good as an admission. Yep. And still, until the day they die, in their last gasp of breath, there will be people that will continue to say it didn't happen. And this is like a shakedown from, the Trump administration, and they were bullied into, like, the admission will still never come from such a large percentage of people, which is just amazing to me. Like, how much more can be proven to you before you actually take those blinders off? And they can't. Let's face it, they can't. They went so hard. They ostracized family. They they forced people to lose their jobs, to be ostracized from society.
Listen, these are the same idiot women who are taking Tylenol and putting themselves in comas to prove the president wrong. It's the same stupidity, right?
Same.
It's this denial based on nothing more than hatred.
Pure hate.
And that's those people are never going away.
They're never going away. They're never going away. They're always going to be the people in the comment sections and in the streets with their, angry signs screaming how much we're fascists and bigots and racists and this and that and every other thing they can think of, as they are screaming slurs at us and threatening our lives. But we're the hateful ones. We're the hateful ones. Like, I'm hateful for sitting here having this conversation with you. You're hateful for having this conversation. It's a wild world.
I'm in their eyes. I'm hateful just because I'm a white male.
You're a white male. You are
I'm
just
screwed from the get-go.
Yeah. If they didn't love the devil so much, they'd call you the devil. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess that gives a segue, right? Here we go. Let's talk about that. So obviously this is, incredibly disturbing and upsetting. And what a surprise. You're not going to hear about it on the mainstream. You won't hear it from the alphabet media. But this is, this has been going on for, an absurd length of time. Most people probably are not aware even of the horrors or of what's happening around the globe to Christians, the beheadings, the, murders, the persecution, all of that. I mean,
let me give you two numbers, folks, from Nigeria. Okay. One country in Africa, two numbers. One is 1,200. 1,200 churches have been burned to the ground. Christian churches burned to the ground. 56,000 is the other number. 56,000 Christians in Nigeria have been killed. This is genocide.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Okay. And you won't hear it anywhere else. You'll hear them, people continue to complain about Gaza, and you'll hear, but this is crisis. This is real, live, no kidding crisis. 56,000 Christians, 1,200 churches.
Yeah.
Religious persecution. This is genocide, folks. And you know who actually has given it more attention than anybody else? Bill Maher.
Go figure. Yeah.
He's an atheist, by the way.
Right.
But even he says, where are all of these teenage and 20-year-old kids protesting this?
Yeah.
They're not. You know why? Because it's not on the news. They don't know about it.
They're oblivious of it. They're oblivious. Yeah.
And then, of course, we had Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, Michigan. Awful. Yeah. I mean, Michigan is yet another attack on a Christian church and, just people of faith. And again, the biggest thing here is the lack of media attention on it, the lack of care. And I'm sure you get it too. I can't tell you, there isn't a post I have made in the past, a couple years now, or a year or so. There isn't a post that I've made where at least 2-3 people haven't popped in. It could be about anything, by the way. It could be about anything whatsoever. It could be a post that says it's a lovely day outside, and somebody will still jump in and say, not for those children and people in Gaza that are being murdered. What do you have to say about that? Which, the answer to that is, well, what do you have to say about the hundreds, thousands of Christians being murdered, every day for religious persecution? How about that? Want to talk about that? And of course you get crickets from them. They got nothing to say about that, or maybe they'll drop you an F-bomb. But yeah, it's really, oh my goodness, it's so bad. I'm just looking at my notes here. Nigeria, you talked about Nigeria. So the attacks, over 100 churches are attacked monthly per recent reporting. Open Doors 2025 finds 380 million Christians face high persecution globally. 380 million. I can't even. In the U.S., religion-based hate crimes are rising. The data from the DOJ shows the increases. And then, of course, you have underreporting is an issue in the poorer nations. So the numbers that we have, probably, I wouldn't say that they're just scratching the surface, but they're not even giving the full picture. They're not even. Yeah, they're not even accurate.
But listen, folks, killing Christians because they're Christian is a hate crime. Right. It is not classified in this country that way. It may be by the police. It is not by the media. Right. And that's the problem. What they classified Michigan as is here's the things that I heard: gun crime, assault rifle, veteran, right? I never once heard hate crime. Right. He attacked a church specifically. Right. LDS, Latter-day Saints, Mormon Church. This was a religious hate crime. No one ever said hate crime on any media outlet I saw. It's a hate crime, people. And nobody classifies it that way because they're Christians. And that's why Christians continue to be persecuted around the world, is because for whatever reason, nobody in the media classifies it as a hate crime. And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you nailed it on the head. That's it in a nutshell. It is hate crimes. It should be addressed as such. And, I don't understand it, why Christians in particular are treated with such extreme disdain. And, you take that down to a lower level where we're not high level murder, persecution, all of those things. But there's the insidious low level that I see constantly. And there's so many, just take it. And we're going real low level here. We're going from really big and high to something smaller, but it all adds up. It all adds to that apathy. And that apathy, I think, leads to the hate and all of those things. You look at, I can't tell you how many television shows, because your discernment really starts kicking in pretty hardcore, and you're hearing all the nuances when you start to hear, when you hear it, and the television shows, and the mocking of Christians, the mocking of anyone who believes in God, or is, just says that they're a believer. It's automatically treated like a joke, like you're a joke, like your faith is a joke. And then, your next level is going after a small mom and pop bakery, Christians, and for choosing to not make a gay wedding cake, I think it was, or just declining it, and them getting sued for millions of dollars and losing their business and their livelihood. They ended up, winning, but it took years and just destroyed them forever. And it just escalate, and nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Nope.
I know people care. We know who we're talking about here. So it does need to be, I think at the very least, it does need to be, it's already classified as a hate crime, right? I mean, it's already classified as that, but it needs to be enforced and pursued as such. And
I think the deal, it probably is, or potentially is, at the lowest level. One, it depends on the district attorney, right? Always gotta,
right.
They're the ones who drive that. But at the same time, the media has to use those words, and they don't.
Right.
That's the biggest difference. Is that, do you imagine what this would look like in the United States if, and I'm not even going to use the whole number, let's just say half. If 600 mosques and 28,000 Muslims were killed in the United States, could you imagine what that would look like in the media?
Right. Yeah,
right?
So true.
So true. Flip over what's happening in Nigeria, cut it in half, bring it to the United States.
Right. Would everybody be quiet about that? Would you be silent?
No.
Yeah, it'd be a whole different story. Yeah. And I think all we can do is exactly what you and I are doing, and what, Pay attention to it, shine a light on it, bring it to people's attention, encourage other people to bring it to other people's attention, and to not be quiet about it, and be as loud as they are. And I think that's what we have to do.
Yep. That's all we can do at this point.
That's it. At the moment, that's all we can do. Shine a light on it, and don't let the pressure off of that. Don't let it be swept under the rug. And
until the Christian Church or the Vatican start endorsing crusades again, that's about as far as we're gonna go.
That's as far. Yeah, that's as far as we're gonna go. We got that. Oh, what's our time? Oh, which one, Clay? What are we doing?
Just let's do your girl. I think it's the appropriate thing to do.
Oh my goodness. So my girl Cammie is on the book tour, as I'm sure you all well know, and she has put me back in a job momentarily for a hot minute. It's very, very fun. So here is one of her recent appearances. Here it is.
To many blessings, and among them at the highest level is having been educated at this university. It is a place where everything should be telling you and reinforcing your brilliance, your entitlement, your right to be, and our expectation and anticipation of your leadership.
Okay, I can't. I can't even. So, these are the things she's gone around saying. Of course, the book tour is, somewhat hilarious, entirely predictable. The book itself, no, guys, I have not read it yet. I really need to mentally prepare for this. Okay. I think somebody said there's an audiobook of it. So please tell me you, right?
She didn't narrate it.
Listen, I believe she did. I believe so. I can't confirm this yet, but this is how much I love y'all that I will do it. I will listen to it. I will speed that thing up, and I will listen to it as much as I possibly can, because I need to hear this for myself. I need to hear the word salads in their entirety. It is, it's exactly what you guys think it is. It's a bunch of word salad nonsense. It's her throwing everyone under the bus and pretending not to throw anyone under the bus. Probably one of my favorite appearances she did was with Rachel Maddow, and Rachel, asked the pre-submitted question, because we know they're all pre-submitted questions, and still. But here's the thing that got me: is a pre-submitted question, clearly, because she's got the same talking points for every single appearance that she's done, same exact ones. And the question, she very gently, carefully touched on the whole Pete Buttigieg, booty. What do you call it? What do we call him? Booty juice? Somebody calls him that. Whatever. Pete. I'm just calling him Pete. Why she didn't choose him for her running mate, right? And the question was, it's because he's gay. Is that the reason? Or that she, came right out and said, it's that you said it was because he was gay that you couldn't, have him as your running mate. And Kamala does her. Well, hang on. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What I said was, and she gives this totally walk around way of saying it wasn't because he was gay, right? It's because he was gay. That was the gist. A whole bunch of words, which I just spared you all from, a whole bunch of words to come right back around and basically say, well, it is because he was gay, and also to throw the American people under the bus and say, well, it's because you guys are all, prejudiced or whatever. It's like, oh,
homophobic and all those
homophobic.
Things.
There you go. There's the word.
Yeah, it's not because he was gay. It's because nobody would vote for him because he was
gay. Yeah. Yes. So that was the highlight of that whole thing. There's plenty more. Her old parents on The View. It's guys. It is everything that we expected it to be, and I humbly thank her for the material.
Yes.
Oh yes, I've even done a few radio and talk appearances for
Nice.
it. So yeah, that was fun. I was like, oh boy, here we go again. What's the quote from The Godfather? Every time I try and get out,
That kid, right? One of the worst of the Godfather movies. Godfather was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. That and on that note.
On that happy note.
We had to. There was some tough ones today. Clay, you got anything you want to close them out with? You want to talk about that thing we were talking about before we went on? Are you not ready to talk about that thing?
I absolutely am. So, folks, there's been Cross to Bear, right? second book in the Terry September, and the reception has been great. If you haven't read it, Keep Moving, Keep Shooting is the first in the series. Cross to Bear is the second. And on November 11th, on Veterans Day, ladies and gentlemen, book 3, titled Rebellis, will be released. So the Terry Davis series, book 3, very quick turnaround. Book 3 will be released on the 11th of November, Veterans Day. So we're looking forward to that.
How perfect is that? Your release dates are so awesome. They're so perfect. I love it. I can't wait for that to come out. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, you take care of you. We will see you in the comments section. We love you and we can't wait to chat with you. So have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Combat veteran Terry Davis thought he left the fight behind. In Tampa, he uncovered a deadly conspiracy. Now he's back home in Chicago, and war has followed him to his doorstep. Gangs armed like soldiers, a shadowy enemy rising from the past, and one man who refuses to stand down. From the quiet suburbs to the shores of Lake Michigan, Terry Davis will risk everything to protect the people he loves, because that is his cross to bear. Play Novak's explosive new novel, Cross to Bear, book 2 in the Terry Davis series.
She's the voice behind the viral comedy, bold commentary, and truth-packed interviews that cut through the chaos. Author, brand creator, proud conservative Christian, this is Elsa Kurt. Welcome to the show that always brings bold faith, real truth, and no apologies.